Hi, homeschooling families. This is Janet from Covenant Homeschool Resource Center, and I'm excited to have back with us Gretchen Roe from Demme Learning. Hi, Gretchen.
Hi, it's such a great pleasure to be with you today, Janet.
Yes, thank you for joining us. And I always love when we get together because I learn so much about curriculum and all the amazing stuff that Demme Learning is coming up with. And also things that families that are homeschooling that come and ask me, I get to ask them from you. So Demi Learning has been doing some exciting things. And recently you guys acquired the rights for the WriteShop.
We did. And I was not aware of this program. It was West Coast based. It's got 25 years of experience.
Yeah.
And being a homeschool mom who taught creative writing for 15 of my 21 years of homeschooling, oh my gosh, I wish I'd had this program. I love it. It's exciting.
So how did that come out? So then you learning heard about them and you guys were like, we need to
Well,
help.
we are seeking
Mhm.
to build a multimodality approach to academics. And if
Mhm.
you're familiar with the way Matthew C. teaches, we want to bring as many senses to the table. We do the same thing with spelling UC. We do the same thing with analytical grammar. So we've been on the hunt for a compositional program. And this more than exceeded our expectations in our look for the right fit. And this is a terrific program. It really fits well with Demme Learning's philosophy. And it's a positive experience for parents. And, over and above teaching math, more parents report to us that they hate teaching compositional writing. So this program more than meets that mark and does it in a unique way, which I'm really excited to share with you. So.
Oh, that sounds amazing. So I actually got the chance to meet Kim Krauser.
Uh-huh.
About 3 years ago, pre-COVID, I got to meet her on a conference. And then during COVID, I got to interview her. And it was really neat hearing her story as a homeschool parent and how the need to write a homeschool writing curriculum came up for homeschoolers. And it was really cool how that developed and how she faced the challenge with one of her homeschool friends.
We did I had the privilege of doing a webinar with her early in the spring, and it's actually posted on our blog at demmelearning.com/blog if people want to learn the background story of this fantastic product.
Amazing.
She's wonderful. I got to spend last week with her in California. In fact, I even had dinner at her beautiful home, and she, as talented as she was in writing WriteShop, she's an excellent chef, and it was a marvelous evening. We really had a great time.
Oh, that's amazing. I'm so happy you got to do that. And then I'll have Chris, we'll put it in the notes. You can put both the interview that I did with Kim and also the webinar that you guys came up with, because the more information families have, the better.
Absolutely. I think so. And, to me, it's an easy lift to teach writing because I love it. But for so many parents, because it's such a subjective component, they really find that it's a struggle. And what I love about this program is you can tailor the program to your student. You don't have to force your student to fit the mold. And that makes a tremendous amount of difference.
I love it. Okay, so is this program something that will be considered parent intensive, open and go? How would this program be described?
I think it's a little bit of both. I hesitate to say parent intensive because in my mind, so maybe we need to define that. In my mind, when you see parent intensive, that means there's a lot of stuff I got to do to get ready to do.
Exactly.
And I don't find this program to be that. In fact, behind you, I see some of the things that they have created to make it easier for parents to implement the program. I also think, in a lot of parent intensive programs that are scripted, you've got all these elements that you have to meet in order to meet the obligations of the program. And WriteShop is not that. There's a lot of information in there, but it's really up to you to tailor what you want it to be. And that makes a tremendous amount of difference as well.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think I would call it parent interactive more than intensive.
Yes.
And when I was looking, like we have here at Cabinet, Chris, I love Chris. She made me this summary book with everything there is to know about WriteShop. So we have the three sections: the primary, the junior, and the older kids, which is
Right.
8th through 12th grade, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. And so when I look at my little summaries, I think I would have enjoyed doing this with my kid. I'm looking for the page that I was seeing just a little earlier today, because I would say even it's relationship building,
It
because
is.
yeah,
And
because
I think one of the things, the single thing that I find unique to WriteShop and that I really love is I've had conversations with parents for years about, oh, my student hates to write. And when you have a writing program that is prescriptive, in other words, the writing program determines what you're going to write about, it becomes a difficult proposition when your student doesn't want to write about that. For instance, I'll give you an example. I talked to a parent in California last week, and the writing program she was using wanted her daughter to write about baseball. And her daughter had absolutely zero interest in writing about baseball. And of course, this child was a child after my own heart because I'm right there with her. I understand. And so when we ask a student to write compositionally, it's the most difficult thing we ask a student to do when we homeschool. They have to think about how to hold the pencil, what to say, the words they want to use, the vocabulary they want to use, how to punctuate, how to spell, how to write creatively, all of those things. And then as parents, we think, okay, we want this to be a perfect product. So we come after them for spelling and grammar and punctuate, all those things. It's a frustrating experience. So if we can take this program and keep the thing, I think it makes it much more doable for parents. And what I love about the program is the fact that it's not prescriptive. If you have a student who absolutely loves everything about volcanoes or horses or Minecraft, the program will tell them how to write about that.
That's amazing.
And that is really different, and I love it.
Yeah. And then from the parent perspective, like you said, it is not parent intensive, but the first few pages gives you ideas on how to get started and options. I love these little schedules. And when I look at them, I actually created this type of stuff for myself when I did my kids and when I homeschool my kids. And I kind of, I was reading here about their 3-day-a-week lesson plan.
Correct.
And so it has 2 days off. So then if something happens, you can just rotate some of the activities for another day. And if you are a parent, that either part day, or if you have a child like mine that was an athlete. So there were some days that it was going to be like the entire day.
Absolutely busy. Yeah.
Exactly. And
well,
so
the other thing I think, if you take a look at that schedule, is a lot of the activities that are done surrounding writing are not this part of the writing. Because really, a composition is born not when your student starts to sit down and write it. It's born in the brainstorming process.
Yes.
So there are a lot of activities getting your student to think through how and what they want to say.
Yeah.
And then giving them the opportunity to focus their attentions appropriately. And that makes a lot of difference.
Yeah, exactly. And then when I was reading this, the other thing that I liked is I was thinking of a family, either that they've been homeschooling and they've been struggling with writing, or if they were attending traditional school and the child felt defeated in their writing. So I was thinking, this type of schedule, this type of program where you are having in a really positive, relaxed environment with the parent and the child communicating and having simple activities, the curriculum even gives permission to the parent to be the scribe, to let the child brainstorm, because that's what you want them. You want them to come up with ideas, and it encourages the parents. It's okay if you just write down what they're dictating. I mean, the kids will end up writing that later on, but you are helping them get excited about the future products.
I think one of the best ways to envision WriteShop is it gives you the coach's script. Be able to coach your student appropriately. And one of the things that I love about the program, regardless of which level of program you're looking at, in each lesson are things called smaller steps. So if you have a really reluctant writer, you eat that elephant in tinier pieces, or flying higher. You have a really burgeoning writer who's really making the grade and giving you some tremendous work. There's ways to encourage them to expand that capacity. And that makes this really unique, because then a parent can use a single level with more than one age child. And
Oh,
that makes a lot of difference.
oh, that's so much easier for the parent. So what if the age gap is too much? What would be an easy way for the parent to work with two different levels?
Well, I encourage parents to do a couple of things. First of all, to use the placement tool on the website. We have reconfigured that placement tool. So what it will do first is decide, do you have a student who needs to be in primary, or do you have a student who needs to be in junior, or do you have a student who needs to be in the flagship product, which is where Kim began, which is WriteShop 1 and 2. And then it will take you into checklists. Can your student do this? So it will help drop you in to where you need to be. One of my favorite examples is a sweet homeschool mom that I've known for a long time. She has many children, and she was looking for a writing program for two of them, a very neurotypical 8-year-old and a learning challenged 14-year-old. And when we walked through the placement process, both of them ended up in the same level, because we could tailor that to meet those kids' needs. Now, if you have students who are in wildly different levels, so let's say you've got one in A and one in WriteShop 1, then the program will tell you, here's how you're going to teach with multiple kids. Here's what you're going to do. Obviously, there's going to be less content for your A student, but more time spent for you as a parent, because this doesn't even assume your student can write compositionally. It gives creative enterprise to a student who might just be learning to read. With WriteShop 1 and 2, it does structure it so that your student can drive the train more, and you become the collaborator and coach in a more ardent position in that. So I think it is a very doable proposition when you have a lot of children and you need to figure out how to make that work. And placement is really the key.
Yes. And then you guys or Kim and her team, when they came up with some of the younger ones, they came up with some really neat shortcuts and very neat, inexpensive ways to help their parents. So
they call them time saver packs, and believe me, they're worth every dollar.
Yeah, like $7. So I don't know how much they cost now, but they are quite affordable. And my kids would have loved just having a sheet that helps them guide some of the stuff. This is the younger one. Actually, I'm just gonna pull one out, and you can talk about it a little bit while I pull it out. Yeah. So this one is, for example, level A is like first grade or what?
Okay. Kindergarten, first grade. As homeschoolers, we don't like to play grades anyway. So it gives us the opportunity to be able to work with the student.
Yeah.
And what you're looking for is to have your student think about, okay, if they're telling a story, what's the start of the story? The one you just held up. So what comes next?
Yeah.
What a great question to ask your student, and sometimes as parents, we are so caught up in we want to do it right that we aren't willing to get in there and roll around. And here's the other thing that I think is really important about this program. There are a lot of little perfectionists out there who don't like to put a pencil on a paper because they don't want to do it wrong. And the way in which Kim has structured this program, it allows those students to stay in the creative end of the equation until they're really ready to put their thoughts on paper. And, one of the examples that I offer to parents all the time when I talk about creative writing at homeschool conferences is, you have a student who wants to write about an elephant. I don't know how to spell elephant. I'll write about a pig. So immediately we've taken this wide range of what we want to write about, and we've started to pull it in because we're trying to meet the obligation. What I love about this program is the world is your oyster. It helps you keep that range wide for your student and stay in the creative end of the enterprise.
I love that. It's so cool. So this curriculum, it gives you different schedulings, and it's usually if you do it follow some of their schedules, it'll be completed in about 30 weeks. And as a
Correct.
homeschooler, you can be flexible. But the nice thing, if it's important for your family to finish it in 1 year, it is very, very doable.
Absolutely. And
Mhm.
I have some parents who, I talked to some parents in California who had an ambitious plan. They had a plan to do WriteShop 1 in a semester. And we talked about being careful of those expectations, because I always think no matter what you're doing, whether we're talking about compositional writing or math or spelling, you as the parent are the best student of your child.
Mhm.
So my caution to that parent was, that's an absolutely doable proposition, but it's up to you to watch your student to see if you've reached capacity and then retailor it. And this program gives you the flexibility to do that.
That's wonderful. So the program goes from basically kindergarten all the way through high school. So
Yes.
so the level one, or the primer level, what are the things that the curriculum is going to be focusing on during those
Well,
8?
there's a wide variety of things, and really for parents who come into your fabulous new location, if they take a look in the first pages and they look at the lessons, it
Mhm.
will tell you what kind of lesson activities we're going to engage in and the expectations for those lesson activities. So, for instance, I'm holding A,
Uh-huh.
and we're looking at learning about ourselves. So the first one is learning about WriteShop, learning about how the program works. That's the first lesson.
Well, that's
The
great.
second lesson is all about me. So learning how to talk about yourself, and the fact that the theme is I am special. And I think that's a wonderful way
At that age,
to
yeah.
lay that foundation at that age. But then we go on to talk about things from friends to favorite things to colors to trains to rhymes. And all of those themes vary week by week. And, you know, if you had other curriculum activities that were follow a theme, when you look at all of these, one builds on the other, but you could make it work where if you really wanted to do the theme that is about organizing ideas and insects and bugs, and that was something you were doing in September, but that's lesson 8, move it around. The good news is the curriculum police are not going to come get you.
Absolutely, absolutely. And like we were saying, it says about 15 to 30 minutes a day in some of the workshops for the
And really, with the primary books, you're looking at less than that. Some of
yeah.
that time is also prep time for you.
Mhm.
So I always say to parents, the best way to plan is to plan ahead, because kids don't wait. So if you've read
Yes.
ahead and you know what this theme is going to be about, you know how to tailor it, you know what you can cut, you know what you can add to, and
Mhm.
how to make it interesting. Because again, you're the best student of your student.
Absolutely. And that's kind of what I meant when I say this curriculum is kind of relational, because you're studying your students and you can actually know how to encourage it and how to choose the subjects or the themes that are going to interest your child. They seem to fit in really well, even within the suggestions made. I really enjoyed it. I think it's a curriculum that really leads for the student, especially one with insecurities, in my opinion, because I had one of my kids that was so insecure in her writing, and she was good at it, but she still was the perfectionist.
Right.
And
Right.
so this type of stuff leads for that nice encouragement.
And you
And
know, one of the things I think is important for us to bear in mind is we live in a literate society where there are more expectations for the written word every day. The example that I've been using this summer is one of my son's friends wanted to work at Chick-fil-A, and she had to write an essay stating why she would be a valuable team member.
Mhm.
So we
Yeah.
have to equip our kids to be able to write well. And I think this program does a tremendous job of doing that.
I agree. I think I would have enjoyed doing it very much with my children. So I just somehow I wasn't aware of it at the time. But does this curriculum, does it include grammar? How does that work?
It does. It includes grammar, but it's not a complete grammar program. So I always think it's I want to set expectations appropriately. It has what is called fold and go grammar, where the student is actually making a grammar notebook, if they will, to be able to construct sentences more cogently. Let's face it, all of us understand and know grammar. Sometimes we don't think we know grammar. For instance, Janet, you know the difference between dad ate pizza and pizza ate dad.
Yeah.
You know, one's a 3-word sentence and one is kind of funny, but isn't going to happen. And so what this does is it helps define grammar in the writing experience. If you are expecting a full grammar experience, that is usually a middle school experience. Mm-hmm. And for that, you would want our analytical grammar program. But there are grammar elements to it because I think it's important for a student to be able to know and identify the parts of speech so that they can use them appropriately.
Absolutely. Okay, so what is the main difference when you're going from the primary program to the junior program?
Well, that's a good question. And so there is a little bit more expected of this student. There's a little bit more opportunity here. So I think the word we chose was interactive. Mm-hmm. Primary, of course, is going to be the most interactive for a parent. We're going to help create a student who has the ability to drive their own train a little bit. But there is still a fair degree of interaction for the parent with the junior levels. And of course, junior levels are D, E, and F, and I just pulled D off the shelf so that I can put them in my chair. Mm-hmm. When you finally get to WriteShop 1, mm-hmm. you have a student who's working independently, and your role really is collaborator in the end process. Mm-hmm. So there are elements that you will engage with your student, but there is a degree of expectation of independence. And, you know, I say this all the time. I had 6 kids, and each one of them reached that level of independence at wildly different times. My eldest son was brilliant. He taught himself to read when he was 4, but he couldn't have been left alone to complete a single task until he was more than 16 years old. My youngest son said to me when he was 8, why don't you just give me a list and I'll let you know if I need you. Now, I had to have 5 other ones to get him, but you know, every kid is different. Yes. But the goal here is to create a student who can independently walk toward a goal with composition. Mm-hmm. And that, I think, is a laudatory goal.
That's amazing. I have really enjoyed getting to know about this curriculum, and we do have some co-ops in Arizona that use the high school WriteShop 1 and 2. So it's a program that you can also use in co-ops if you want to.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I met several of them in California this last weekend when I was out there for a homeschool conference. And being new to the program, I was as interested to know, so how is it working for you as I was in knowing that it could be used that way. And I have to say, it was a validating experience to hear from parents, man, this is a terrific program and we really are having fun with it. And, you know, in a lot of venues, parents don't put fun and composition in the same sentence. Mm-hmm. So that was great to hear.
Yeah. And I do think, I mean, we were using the relational type description of the program. And I really do believe that's it, because the children will get, especially the younger ones, if they're very insecure, or even if they're not insecure, they're just going to be like, oh, let me fly. And if they're a little insecure, it's just going to give them confidence, and it gives the parent the ability to meet that child where he is. And then the little scheduling, I really like it because it is literally a guide. It is not a rule. And it doesn't say do, like it says activity. I read clusters, so I can't remember, but it says activity whatever it is. So you get to choose whatever the activity is going to be, but you have a guide, a vision of more or less what you're going to have to do, but you fill it up on how you want to do it, your child is thinking, what subject he wants to do or whatever. So I really think it's a very, very encouraging curriculum. I'm
I
excited
do
about
think
it.
there's one thing that parents need to know.
Okay.
And here's my advice to you. When
Okay.
you open this up, you're going to see lots of words and you're
Mhm.
going to go, oh, wait, what? What is all of this? And the neat part is Kim offers you all sorts of suggestions
Mhm.
on how to make this a doable enterprise. So I think it's important for parents to understand that they need to know, for instance, she has an explanation of smaller steps and flying higher, which I referenced earlier.
Mhm.
Does it mean you implement every word of the program? No, I want you to use the grocery store approach.
Mhm.
I don't buy everything at my grocery store, but there are things that I want. And it's the same thing with these materials. But reading through the beginning explanation of everything will make it so much easier for you. So regardless of whether you start at A or D or C or WriteShop 1,
Mhm.
take the time to read and understand the program,
Mhm.
because that's going to instill confidence for you to implement the program with your student.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Take a day away from the kids. Go to a mom's day out, or even you yourself say, okay, kids, it's my time. Go to grandma's house, and or to the neighbors, whoever that you can have the kids, and have your own time to prepare, because it is going to make a huge difference.
Here's
Yeah.
another thing, and that Kim doesn't say this in these books, but I really want to encourage parents to do this. You have a very valuable tool for record keeping, and it's your phone. And so, what I encourage parents to do is to take their phone and take a photograph of each composition as your student writes it, and put those in a folder on your desktop. Because at some point, your student is going to say, oh, I don't think I want to do this. I'm discouraged. And you can go to that folder and say, well, let's see how far you've come this year. And that's a powerful tool. By
Mhm.
the same token, I'm a parent, but
Mhm.
um, I scribing is something that I find a little bit exhausting, and Kim recommends that. And
Mhm.
if you find that to be the case, open up an email on your phone, hit that little microphone,
Mhm.
and let your student begin by telling you the story.
Oh,
That
that's
gives
amazing.
you a draft to be able to work from and a direction to be able to go in, and then you can fit it into the WriteShop frame. And I think those are two really valuable tips for parents to be able to work with. The other thing I want to say is Kim has done a marvelous job of crafting rubrics for your student to be able to assess their own writing. And once your student is reading independently, they'll use those rubrics to
Mhm.
assess their writing. But by the same token, as a parent, I know I was the goddess of the red pen. You know, I was going to get you for everything you did wrong. And I want to encourage parents that in the creative writing enterprise, choose a few things to encourage your student,
Mhm.
but don't correct everything, because
Mhm.
that's discouraging.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that is amazing, amazing recommendations. And the one that I liked, that you said, to taking pictures of your child's progress, is also for you, because your kid will be discouraged, and one day we moms, you will get discouraged, and you'll be like, oh, I haven't taught anything to my child. And then no, go look at it, and you will see the progress, and it
Absolutely.
will encourage you to, not only your child.
Absolutely. I homeschooled back in the day before these things were a
Yeah.
thing, but I wish I had done that. I just kept copious amounts of papers. And the one thing that I always kept was every composition
Mhm.
that my kids had. Now, when my kids all graduated high school, when they graduated, they got this giant book of all their compositions. And most of them sat in the floor for hours and looked through
Uh,
that book. And they
mhm.
found it to be tremendous. You know, you can also use this to store their artwork so that
Mhm.
you are not up to your hips in art paper. And if you build a portfolio, if you have a requirement for that, it's a
Mhm.
really easy way to create a digital portfolio.
Wow, that is such a great recommendation. Yes. Oh my goodness. Okay, so before we end our time about the WriteShop, is there anything else that we should let our parents know about it?
Get started. Go to the WriteShop.com website and look at the placement. And if you have questions, reach out to our placement specialists at Demme Learning. Sometimes parents have unique situations, and our goal is to help you fit yourself in the frame. Give us a call. We'll help you figure it out. And then you can come into Covenant and find exactly what you need.
Exactly. Yeah, call Demme Learning or at the WriteShop.com, right? So the WriteShop still has their own website. Very good.
They do. It's actually Demme Learning's website, but it was easier for us to convert it. So you can actually find a way to get to us through that website. You don't have to go now. What do I do? Where do I go? It's all interconnected through the mysteries of the digital universe, which I don't even pretend to understand.
Oh my goodness. Me neither.
But I think you'll find the placement very straightforward. I think it will answer your questions. But don't sit there and wonder, what do I do if? We want to be able to help you know what to do and be successful with that.
Absolutely. And do come here, because it is so nice to be able to look at the books, open them and start reading them and says, wait a second, this is actually very doable. And you'll start picturing yourself in doing it with your child and how your child can get encouraged. So it's amazing, and getting the help from Gretchen and her team is also so important, because we homeschoolers sometimes get discouraged and we need encouragement. We need ways to know how we can fix something.
I have a colleague, and I'll leave it at this.
Yes,
my
great.
colleague Sue says this.
Yes.
If somebody's crying, you need to pick up the phone and call us. And that is either you or your student.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Gretchen. Okay. So homeschooling families, go to WriteShop.com, which is also connected to the Demme Learning website. Take the placement test, call their placement representatives, if you need additional help, and then come and visit us and come and look at the curriculum and see it in person to see how amazing it would be, and just be encouraged. Thank you, Gretchen, so much for joining us.
I'm glad I got the opportunity, and I'm looking forward to seeing you guys in July.
Gosh, yes, Gretchen is going to be here July 14th at 8:30 a.m. in person. So you can come and learn about anything Demme Learning, Matthew C, Demme Learning, WriteShop. What else do you have? Analytical grammar.
Analytical grammar.
Yeah, and spelling. You see, yes. Okie dokie. Thank you, Gretchen. And we'll see you guys soon. Bye, homeschooling families.